Hey everyone, you're tuned into Six Path Weeb. Welcome to the channel, where anime meets imagination. Today's fanfic dives into an epic twist on the Naruto universe. What if Naruko was the Kaiju princess? Before we begin, a quick disclaimer. All content on this channel is for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I do not own any anime footage used in my videos. All rights and credits go to their original creators and copyright holders. Now, let's get into it. Kakashi's confusion. Kakashi was perplexed. Actually, no, he was completely baffled. Just the day before, he had informed his three potential genin of the true nature of their upcoming test. Their reactions were typical: surprise, frustration, and the quiet crumble of their expectations. Kakashi was confident he had done a solid job of unsettling them, and expected to find them today exhausted, disheartened, and perhaps a bit overwhelmed. But when he arrived silently in the trees overlooking the training field, what he saw didn't match his expectations at all. There they were, seated calmly in front of the three wooden posts. Naruko sat in the middle, Sakura on her right, and Sasuke on her left. At first glance, nothing about their appearance seemed different. But their demeanor was off. For starters, Sakura wasn't sitting near Sasuke as she normally would have. Instead of the anxious tension of someone awaiting a difficult test, she appeared content, her smile serene as she admired the nature around them. Her eyes sparkled peacefully, though Kakashi could have sworn they looked more blue than their usual green, perhaps just a trick of the light? Sasuke, on the other hand, seemed tense. Though his attire hadn't changed, his posture was rigid, and he clenched his fists repeatedly, a faint scowl etched on his face. Most peculiar of all were his eyes. They weren't the crimson hue of the Sharingan but a deep, vivid red. Every now and then, his gaze flicked from Sakura to Naruko, narrowing in what Kakashi could only interpret as frustration or suspicion. And then there was Naruko. She had slightly changed her outfit, her jacket was unzipped, and her headband rested loosely around her neck. She was reclining with her hands behind her head and her legs crossed at the ankles, her foot rhythmically tapping. Her eyes were closed, and were it not for the subtle movement of her foot, one might have assumed she was napping. This troubled Kakashi the most. Naruko was usually a spark of constant energy and enthusiasm. Seeing her so composed was unsettling. Just as he was about to step in, he heard Sakura speak. "He's late. Really late. You don't think this is going to be a regular thing, do you?" she asked, glancing between Naruko and Sasuke. Sasuke frowned. "It better not be. I definitely have something to say about that." Kakashi frowned slightly beneath his mask. He was beginning to worry about Sasuke's tone. Sakura sighed. "Do you always have to be so confrontational?" Sasuke didn't reply, his frown deepening instead. Naruko opened one eye and groaned. "Can we not do this? It's way too early for pointless arguments." Sasuke's expression sharpened. "Then maybe stop saying things that waste our time." Naruko sat up with an amused grin. "Wow, someone woke up a little extra serious today." "All right, enough," Sakura interjected, pinching the bridge of her nose. "Let's just get through this without making it harder on ourselves." At that moment, Kakashi decided it was time to intervene. He appeared in a swirl of leaves, smiling. Now. Future genin should play nice." All three turned to face him. Kakashi noted, with some surprise, that Naruko's eyes were no longer their usual bright blue, they now glowed a sharp, radiant orange. Pushing his observations aside, he clapped his hands once. "Let's begin. This is your test. Your goal: take one of these two bells from me before noon. Whoever doesn't get a bell won't get lunch. And will return to the academy." He expected the usual shock, complaints, or at least a few wide-eyed stares. Nothing. Just calm, polite attention. Sakura raised a hand. "There are only two bells." "That's right," Kakashi said, watching them carefully. "Only two of you will pass." Still, no one reacted. Something about their calm composure sent an odd chill up his spine. "And," he added, "if you don't come at me with serious intent, you won't get a bell." This finally drew a response. Sakura blinked and rubbed her forehead. Then, slowly, all three exchanged glances. Kakashi noticed Naruko's smirk first, subtle, but a little too knowing. Sasuke's look was harder to describe, but Kakashi couldn't help but feel something off. As the trio quietly dispersed to prepare for the challenge, Kakashi had a creeping suspicion that this test might not go the way he anticipated. And he would soon discover that he was absolutely right. The Jonin Report. At the Hokage Tower, Sarutobi stood before a group of assembled jonin. Well, he began with a slight sigh, Kakashi appears to be running behind. Again. Let's begin without him. One by one, the instructors stepped forward to deliver their results. Team 1 failed. Team 2 failed. Team 3 failed. Team 4 failed. Team 5 failed. Team 6 failed. Team 8 passed, Kurenai said, stepping forward. Observations? Asked Sarutobi. Hinata Hyuga seems to lack confidence, but she's very promising. Shino Aburame has strong leadership potential. Sarutobi nodded. Team 9 is still active, so we'll move to Team 10. Asuma took a step forward. Team 10 passed. Ino Yamanaka has talent but needs to focus more. Shikamaru Nara is incredibly sharp, though unmotivated. Then, just as Sarutobi was about to conclude, the door swung open with a loud bang. All eyes turned. In walked, or more accurately, stumbled, Kakashi. His clothes were torn, his hair stood wildly in every direction, and his expression was utterly blank. There were scorch marks on his vest, and his steps were uneven as he limped forward before collapsing face first onto the floor. Silence fell over the room. After a long pause, Asuma stepped forward and nudged him lightly. Kakashi? A muffled groan came from the floor. Lifting his head slightly, Kakashi mumbled, Team 7. Passed. Gasps filled the room. Asuma, startled, dropped his head back to the floor with a soft thud, prompting another groan. Sarutobi broke the tension. Everyone's dismissed. Someone please call my medical assistant. Quickly. Kakashi's report. Once the medic arrived, she carefully checked Kakashi's condition. You look like you had a close encounter with a thunderstorm, she said, examining a tear in his sleeve. Kakashi winced. Feels like it too. Sarutobi leaned in. Kakashi, what happened out there? Taking a deep breath, Kakashi sat up straighter. I started with Sakura. I expected a standard genjutsu would keep her busy. She dispelled it instantly. Then, somehow, she anticipated my movements. Her reflexes were faster than I've seen in any genin. She even caught one of my kicks. With one hand. The medic paused, blinking in surprise. She's strong, Kakashi continued. Very strong. And she's not just fast, she's strategic. She even used some kind of energy-based technique I've never seen. I had to retreat just to catch my breath. Sarutobi nodded. And the others? I encountered Sasuke next. Well, he wasn't exactly polite. The Hokage raised an eyebrow. He had some sort of lightning-based technique, something similar to my own Chidori. But he used it in a way that made me think it wasn't just a jutsu, more like a natural ability. Kakashi flexed his fingers, still sore. I tried to land a blow. He didn't even flinch. It was like hitting solid stone. The medic frowned. That's highly unusual. I agree, Kakashi muttered. I eventually had to fall back after a particularly intense barrage. He seemed determined to overwhelm me, but, thankfully, I found an opening to escape. What about Naruko? Sarutobi asked. Kakashi hesitated. She didn't even need to fight, he admitted. She just waited. Calmly. Like she already knew how it would end. Sarutobi leaned back in his chair, deep in thought. This new Team 7, he said quietly, is going to be interesting. What in the world is happening with these genin? Kakashi thought as he caught his breath, realizing he had somehow circled back to the starting point of the training field near the stream. Sakura was supposed to be the weakest and not great at hand-to-hand combat, but her punches feel like being hit with a hammer, and now she's firing energy beams? And then there's Sasuke. He shivered at the memory. I knew he had confidence, but his speed and reflexes are outrageous. And the lightning? Where did that come from? I expected fire like the other Uchiha, but that didn't seem like chakra-based lightning, it looked real. Real lightning. This doesn't make sense. Just then, Kakashi noticed his shadow was stretching unnaturally long. Before he could react, instinct screamed at him to move. He rolled to the side as a loud crash shook the ground behind him. Dust and smoke clouded the air. As the dust cleared, he saw Naruko, her arm buried elbow deep in a small crater. She looked up and gave him a wide grin before pulling her arm free with surprising ease. A shockwave rippled from the force, and Kakashi blinked, alarmed. She's already in front of me? He thought, seeing her fist cocked back for another punch. Quickly substituting himself with a nearby log, Kakashi managed to escape the strike and gain some distance. Naruko started to charge again, but he held up a hand. Wait. What? Naruko asked, slightly annoyed. Please, Kakashi said, hands raised, tell me strength is your only specialty. Naruko raised an eyebrow. What do you mean by only? Well, Sakura has energy beams, Sasuke's got lightning, he winced, so please tell me your thing is just strength. Naruko chuckled and held out her right hand, which began glowing with a bright blue energy. I wouldn't say just strength, she said, grinning. Want to see? The glow around her hand intensified, radiating heat. Kakashi could feel it from meters away. A quick tip, Kakashi, Naruko said calmly. Even this, at its lowest power, could send you flying. And then she dashed forward. Kakashi quickly retreated toward the tree line. When Naruko caught up, he jumped and clung to a tree's side, only for Naruko's hand to slice cleanly through the trunk. The tree toppled, and a few others behind it shook from the shockwave. Kakashi sighed. She's like a mini Tsunade. Where are you looking, Kaka-sensei? Came a voice behind him. Eyes wide, Kakashi turned only to be grabbed by the ankle and swung around before being tossed across the field. He landed in front of someone. My, Kakashi-sensei. Coming straight to me? So thoughtful, said Sakura, who was smiling sweetly as her hands began glowing again. Before he could respond, another voice added tension to the air. I told you I'd catch up, said Sasuke with a smirk. Hope you've been training. Kakashi looked around and realized he was surrounded by 3 very determined young shinobi. This is it, he thought. This is where I retire early. Just then, a sharp alarm blared across the training field. Kakashi blinked. Was that an alarm? He suddenly laughed, a little too loudly. You failed. You didn't get a bell, so you don't pass, he shouted with relief. I don't have to teach you anymore. Oh, these bells? Asked Sakura innocently, holding them up. Kakashi twitched. When did you take those? Back when I knocked you over, she replied cheerfully. Kakashi's hope briefly flared. If she didn't share the bells, maybe there was still a way. Here, you two take them, Sakura said, handing the bells to Naruko and Sasuke. I don't mind repeating a year. Nah, Naruko replied, stretching. More time at the academy means more naps. Sasuke scoffed. I could pass the academy any day if I wanted. Keep the bell. So close, Kakashi groaned. Fine. You pass. Meet me here tomorrow at 6. Sasuke smirked. Naruko grinned. Sakura clapped her hands and said, shopping time. Ugh. Do we have to? Naruko groaned. You're paying for that comment, Sasuke, Sakura declared with a mischievous grin. Sasuke grumbled but turned around and walked back to Kakashi. He leaned down, whispered something that made Kakashi flinch, and then rejoined his teammates. As they left, Kakashi lay on the ground, sighing. I need to reread those reports. Later. Sarutobi listened patiently as Kakashi delivered his report. In conclusion, Sakura is not as innocent as she looks. Naruko is unusually strong and resourceful. And Sasuke? Well, he might be the boldest Jonin I've ever met. Sarutobi gave a long, thoughtful pause. Bring them to my office tomorrow. We'll get to the bottom of this. But Hokage-sama, you don't mean I still have to? Yes, Kakashi. You still have to teach them. A quiet whimper escaped Kakashi as he left the office. The next morning. Sarutobi looked up as Team 7 entered. He noticed they had all updated their outfits. Sakura now had her hair tied up in a bun and wore a kimono-style top with colorful patterns on her pants. Her headband was around her neck. Naruko still had her headband in place but wore a black jacket with white lining and black pants, along with orange fingerless gloves. Her jacket was open, showing her toned, confident stance. Sasuke was dressed sharply in a button-up golden shirt and well-fitted black pants. You wanted to see us, Lord Hokage? Naruko asked. Yes, Sarutobi said, lifting a report. Care to explain this incident? Sasuke opened his mouth, but Sarutobi gave him a pointed look. Sasuke wisely stayed quiet after a glance from Naruko. Sakura stepped forward. We were celebrating our success by shopping. But when we entered a store, the clerk refused to let Naruko in and said some very rude things. Sasuke got upset and demanded the situation be fixed. I see, Sarutobi said, frowning slightly. Try to avoid that sort of conflict in the future, understood? After a few nods, he continued, now, about these strange abilities Kakashi reported. Can you explain them? All three Genin looked at each other before answering in unison, we don't know. Sarutobi and Kakashi blinked. You don't know? Exactly, Naruko replied. It all started after we met Kakashi-sensei. It was like it had always been part of us. Sarutobi raised an eyebrow. Interesting. And the nicknames? Lizard and Gecko? Naruko crossed her arms. Would you want to be called a lizard? Sasuke smirked. It fits you perfectly. Oh please, Gecko boy. You dare call me a skink? Enough, Sarutobi bellowed, ending the squabble. You're shinobi. Start acting like it. You're dismissed. Meet your sensei tomorrow. As they left, Kakashi muttered, they're hiding something. Sarutobi nodded, lighting his pipe thoughtfully. I believe you're right. And I have a mission for you. Dash. Outside, as the trio walked home. You think they bought it? Naruko asked. Maybe, Sakura replied. But it's not like they'd believe the truth anyway. Sasuke smirked. Their minds couldn't handle it. Naruko grinned. Well, whatever they think. Things are about to get a lot more exciting. They each walked off in different directions, already wondering what the next day would bring. It was an average day in Konoha. The sun was shining, the birds were chirping, and the village was alive with its usual energy. Meanwhile, Sasuke Uchiha found himself in a very odd situation, chased by a very nervous Tora the cat. The feline dashed through the training field in full retreat, spooked beyond belief by something, or rather, someone. Come back here, you ridiculous little furball, shouted Sasuke, clearly irritated as he chased the terrified cat. Sparks of lightning crackled from his hands as his frustration grew, lightly charring some nearby leaves and branches. His teammates, thankfully out of range, reacted with a mix of emotions. Naruko, the energetic blonde kunoichi, was on the ground laughing so hard she had tears in her eyes. Sakura let out a sigh and pinched the bridge of her nose, while their sensei Kakashi gave a subtle twitch at the sight of Sasuke generating actual lightning in a training field. If anyone had asked Kakashi a week ago whether things could get any stranger with his team, he probably would have laughed nervously and avoided the question entirely. But things had gotten stranger. It all began a few days ago, when Kakashi arrived at the training ground early and overheard a conversation between Sasuke and Sakura. Dash. Flashback. Listen, Sasuke, began Sakura with a calm voice, why are you always so tense around us? You and I used to be on the same side, remember? Sasuke gave a short sigh. I'll say this once, so listen carefully. The fact that we were teammates is the only reason I even consider listening to you. We've had more conflicts than peaceful moments. Sakura looked momentarily taken aback but didn't lose her resolve. Then maybe it's time we moved forward, she offered with a hopeful smile. Let's put all that behind us and try again, start fresh. She held out her hand in peace. Sasuke narrowed his eyes at the gesture, but after a short pause, he muttered, I'll think about it, before turning away. Satisfied enough with his response, Sakura let the topic go, just as Naruko arrived. Kakashi, still hidden in the trees, frowned slightly. Sakura and Sasuke had always had a complicated dynamic, but this conversation suggested something deeper. Had they really been enemies at some point? He decided not to dwell on it too long and revealed himself, knowing that his team appreciated it when he didn't keep them waiting too long. Dash. Later that week, Kakashi stumbled upon another curious interaction, this time between Naruko and Sakura. I really miss him sometimes, you know? Naruko said quietly. I know I didn't always make the best choices, but he was still family. Sakura placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. You know he cared about you. And no matter how hard things were with your relatives, that kind of bond doesn't fade. There was a pause before Naruko chuckled, her mood lifting. You've always had a way with words, she said, laughing softly. Sakura joined in, and the two sat comfortably together, leaning against each other in quiet companionship until Sasuke arrived. Kakashi was nearly ready to pull his hair out. Weren't these three supposed to be a dysfunctional group of rookies? Now they were acting like old friends with long histories, especially Naruko and Sakura. And from the sound of it, Naruko might have discovered something about her past. Including her family? He made a mental note to speak with the Hokage. Dash. End flashback. Unfortunately, Sarutobi hadn't been much help. The Hokage admitted he was just as puzzled and simply told Kakashi to keep an eye on his team. Back in the present, Sasuke was walking back toward the group, looking more than a little annoyed. Tora the cat was in his arms, seemingly too overwhelmed to move. "Here's your precious cat," he muttered, placing the still dazed feline on the ground. He glanced at Naruko, who was barely keeping her laughter in check. "Stop laughing before I give you a reason to stop." "Wow, someone's really grumpy about being jumped by a scared kitty," Naruko giggled, doubling over again. Sasuke growled and lunged at her, starting a harmless scuffle. Kakashi sighed, and Sakura facepalmed. After a few moments, Sakura had seen enough. "All right, break it up, you two," she said, pulling them apart. "Sasuke, go get cleaned up and meet us at the Hokage's office. Naruko, please be respectful and carry the cat." With minor grumbling but eventual cooperation, the team separated, Sasuke heading home, while the rest made their way to the tower. Little did they know what was coming next. At the mission office. Team 7 arrived with the sleepy cat in Naruko's arms. "Team 7 reporting in," said Kakashi wearily. "Mission, retrieve Tora the cat, successfully completed." "Oh, my sweet Tora. Mommy missed you so much," exclaimed a well-dressed woman as she scooped the cat into her arms. Unfortunately, the cat was not thrilled, and sprang out of her grasp the moment it touched her, bolting out of the room in a frenzy. An awkward silence filled the space. Sarutobi cleared his throat. "Team 7. Your next mission, retrieve Tora. Again." Everyone collectively twitched before Naruko finally spoke up. "Hey, old man. Any chance we could get a different mission?" Sarutobi raised an eyebrow. "Well, there is a party to help organize for the Akimichi family. Would that interest you?" "Let me rephrase that," said Naruko. "Do you have any missions that aren't just chores? Maybe a C rank?" "You're not ready for a C rank," shouted Iruka, who had been passing by. "Calm down, Iruka," said the Hokage. "Kakashi, what's your opinion? Are they ready?" After a moment of hesitation, Kakashi gave a reluctant nod. "Very well. Send in the client." A man in plain clothes and holding a sake bottle entered the room. He looked the team over and scoffed. "This is my protection? A small girl, a quiet kid, and a prim-looking boy? I'm building a bridge. I need real ninjas, not children in costumes." Before anyone could respond, a flicker of lightning zapped the bottle in his hand, shattering it instantly. Sasuke calmly lowered his hand. It would be wise to speak respectfully. Kazuna blinked in shock, then gave a nervous nod. Sakura smirked. "Let's try not to scare the client too much, Sasuke." Sarutobi gave another polite cough. "Your mission is to safely escort Tazuna to the land of waves and protect him while he completes construction of the bridge. Any questions?" Team 7 exchanged glances, determination written across their faces. "When do we start?" After gathering supplies for the trip, Team 7 was on their way out of the village. They walked mostly in silence, Sakura and Naruko in the front, Tazuna in the middle, with Sasuke and Kakashi bringing up the rear. Everything went smoothly at first, until Kakashi and the Genin noticed two puddles in the road. This stood out since it hadn't rained in days. As they passed, two cloaked figures suddenly rose from the puddles. They wore masks and had a long chain linking them at the wrists. Without hesitation, they rushed forward and wrapped their chain around Kakashi, pulling with surprising force. "One down," said one of them. "And 4 too." Before he could finish, the three Genin sprang into action. Sakura delivered a powerful roundhouse kick to one, while Sasuke elbowed the other, slamming them into each other. Naruko appeared behind them in a blur and knocked their heads together, sending them to the ground unconscious. Team 7 rushed over to where Kakashi had been, only to find a shredded log in his place. "Well done, everyone," came Kakashi's voice as he stepped from behind the trees. He turned to Tazuna. "You've got some explaining to do." Tazuna hesitated, then sighed. "There's a man named Gato. He's taken control of our country's economy and is trying to stop us from completing a bridge that could change everything for us. We couldn't afford a high-ranking mission, so I didn't tell the full truth." Kakashi exhaled slowly, clearly concerned. "This is more serious than we were told. This mission is easily B rank or higher. We may need to return to the village. My team isn't fully ready for this level yet." There was a pause. Then Sakura stepped forward with resolve in her eyes. "Kakashi-sensei. Let's continue. I want to help them." "I agree," Naruko added, stepping beside her. They both looked to Sasuke. He rolled his eyes but nodded. Fine. Let's just get this done." Kakashi looked at his team, then sighed. Alright. I guess I'm outvoted. We'll continue. But first, let's secure the two who. He turned toward where the masked attackers had been, but they were gone. Team 7 stared at the empty space in confusion. Great, Naruko muttered. Elsewhere. The two masked attackers knelt in a shadowed hideout before a man sitting casually on a couch. He had short hair, his face partially hidden with bandages, and he held an enormous sword in one hand. So, the man said coolly. You were stopped by a few youngsters? Tell me why I shouldn't be disappointed. One of the masked shinobi trembled slightly. We're sorry, Zabuza-sama. But Kakashi Hatake was there too. Zabuza's eyebrow lifted. Sharingan Kakashi, huh? He gave a short, amused laugh. Now that sounds like a challenge. Back on the coast, Team 7 and Tazuna found a small boat waiting. They all climbed aboard, except Naruko. Kakashi looked back. Naruko? Something wrong? Nope, all good, she said, stretching her arms and legs. Why are you stretching? Kakashi asked, puzzled. So I don't cramp when I swim, she replied, walking toward the water. Kakashi raised an eyebrow. But we have a boat. Sakura gave a small sigh. Don't worry, Kakashi-sensei. Naruko just likes the water. She'll keep up. Kakashi decided not to argue. As the boat moved, he occasionally glanced over to make sure Naruko was still following. She was, mostly swimming underwater and surfacing only occasionally. After passing an impressive bridge, they reached land and continued inland. Eventually, they entered a clearing and heard a rustling in the bushes. Reacting quickly, Sakura and Sasuke launched attacks, a beam of energy and a burst of lightning, only to reveal a frightened white rabbit. Sakura gasped and gently scooped it up. Aw, poor thing. Sasuke muttered under his breath, clearly annoyed he'd missed. Kakashi, however, was alert. A snow-white rabbit. In the middle of summer? That's not normal. Suddenly, something whistled through the air. Everyone down, Kakashi shouted, pulling Tazuna to the ground as a massive blade sliced through the air and embedded itself into a tree. Standing atop it was a tall figure. Ah, Kakashi of the Sharingan. What an honor, he said. Sasuke narrowed his eyes. Sharingan? But that's my clan's ability. How does Kakashi have it? Kakashi stared calmly. Zabuza Momochi. I had a feeling it might be you. Zabuza gave a dry chuckle. Let's not waste time. Hand over the bridge builder, and no one gets hurt. I can't do that, Kakashi said, lifting his headband to reveal a red eye with 3 tomoe. Oh? Then I get to see the Sharingan up close. Zabuza smirked. Sharing what? Asked Naruko, tilting her head. It's a special trait from my clan, Sasuke explained. Which makes it all the more strange that he has it. No more talk, said Zabuza, forming hand signs as he landed. A thick mist spread across the clearing, and his form vanished. 8 points. Came Zabuza's voice from the mist, echoing around them. Which one should I start with? Despite the tension, Kakashi was impressed to see his students holding formation around Tazuna, showing no signs of panic. Using chakra, he cleared some of the mist and searched for Zabuza's location. Just as he realized where Zabuza would strike, the 3 Genin beat him to it. Naruko, Sasuke, and Sakura all struck with precision, aiming their chakra-enhanced attacks at Zabuza's position. But instead of hitting their target, Zabuza turned into water, just a clone. The real one appeared behind Kakashi, blade at the ready. Impressive students you've got, Zabuza said. Thanks, Kakashi replied calmly. But you should be more worried about me. Oh? And why is that? Because I'm the one who's going to stop you. Kakashi turned into water himself, also a clone. The real Kakashi appeared behind Zabuza, kunai at his throat. It's over, Kakashi said. But Zabuza laughed. You think so? A second water clone attacked Kakashi from behind. Kakashi spun and destroyed it, but Zabuza took the opportunity to send him flying into a nearby lake with a powerful kick. As Kakashi surfaced, he suddenly felt the water thicken unnaturally. Zabuza appeared next to him and, after a few quick hand signs, trapped Kakashi in a water sphere. Now that you're out of the way, it's time to deal with the others, he said, forming another water clone. Get Tazuna to safety, Kakashi shouted. Don't try to take him on. Naruko stepped forward confidently. Sorry, but I don't leave my teammates behind, no matter what. Sakura, support. Sasuke, take the clone, she said quickly. Sasuke smirked. You giving orders now? Fine, I'll go with it. Sakura smiled. Nice to see you two cooperating. Both of them replied in unison, it won't last. Let's go, Naruko shouted, and the three rushed forward. Sakura fired a bright energy beam, disarming the clone. Sasuke followed up with a flurry of attacks and finished it off with a crackling burst of lightning. Meanwhile, Naruko leapt to the edge of the lake and launched herself forward, tackling Zabuza and forcing him to release the prison. Underwater, the two clashed. Naruko darted through the water effortlessly. Zabuza struggled to keep up as Naruko overwhelmed him with swift strikes. Who is this girl? Zabuza thought, unable to match her underwater agility. As he tried to surface, Naruko swung her glowing hand, causing the water around it to bubble from the intense energy. Zabuza barely escaped and surfaced, only to be blocked by Kakashi's kunai. They exchanged a rapid series of attacks. Suddenly, a rainbow-colored energy beam forced Zabuza to retreat. He turned in time to see another beam coming at him, and then a kunai from behind as Kakashi pressed the attack. As Zabuza tried to dodge, Naruko emerged and grabbed his legs. With his movement slowed, Kakashi struck with a strong knee, knocking him back. Sasuke. Now, Kakashi shouted. Got it, prepare for a powerful water technique. Sasuke called. Trusting her student, Kakashi jumped back and formed a water dragon jutsu, sending it rushing toward Zabuza. Just after the dragon was formed, Sasuke released several lightning bolts into it, transforming it into an electrified trap. Seeing the incoming danger, Naruko let go of Zabuza and submerged under the water, narrowly avoiding the impact. The dragon struck Zabuza directly, launching him across the lake and into a tree. He tried to regain his footing, but several shuriken and kunai landed around him, pinning him down. It's over, Zabuza. You've been defeated, Kakashi said calmly, approaching with a kunai in hand. What are those kids? Zabuza muttered weakly. They're remarkable, Kakashi replied with a small smile, lifting his kunai. Before he could take another step, two senbon flew from the trees and struck Zabuza's neck. A masked shinobi appeared, wearing a battle kimono and with hair tied in a neat bun. Thank you for weakening him, the masked figure said. I've been pursuing him for a while. With that, the stranger disappeared before anyone could respond. A hunter nin, Kakashi explained. Most likely from the hidden mist. He covered his Sharingan and turned around, only to be met with unimpressed stares from his students. What? He asked. Did you really have to call us monsters? Sakura said flatly. Kakashi scratched the back of his head awkwardly, then promptly collapsed, face first. Team 7 just blinked in surprise. So, who's carrying him? Naruko asked. The Genin exchanged glances, then turned to Tazuna, who was silently observing them. What? Dash. Kakashi groaned as he drifted in and out of consciousness, faint voices reaching his ears. How do we wake him up? I say we threatened to throw out his favorite book. Kakashi's eye snapped open. No. Not the book. He paused, realizing there was no book in danger, only three amused Genin staring back at him. Kakashi groaned. You all are too much. Aw, we care about you too, sensei, Sakura replied with a grin. Kakashi glanced around. He was in a warm room, wrapped in a blanket. Where are we? He asked, his voice hoarse. At the bridge builder's house, Naruko answered. He carried you here after you passed out. Nearly threw out my back, grumbled Tazuna. And don't call me an old man. We've got more important things to deal with than name-calling, Sasuke said seriously. I'm not an old man. Kakashi chose to ignore the exchange. What's the situation? The three Genin looked at each other before Sakura spoke. We think Zabuza might still be alive. The mood in the room changed instantly. Kakashi's eye sharpened. Are you sure? Sakura nodded. Yes. The hunter nin used senbon, which can be used to hit pressure points to simulate. Well, unconsciousness. It didn't sit right with me. So the hunter nin could be helping Zabuza, Kakashi concluded, thoughtfully closing his eye for a moment. He opened it again. You're right, Sakura. We'll begin training tomorrow. All of us? The Genin asked. Kakashi gave an eye smile. Of course. We need to be ready. Sasuke crossed his arms. We beat him easily last time. That was because he didn't expect you. Next time, he will. Sasuke sighed. Fine. Just make sure it's something useful. It will be, Kakashi promised. At that moment, a small boy entered the room. He wore green overalls, a yellow shirt, and a striped hat. Oh, everyone, this is my grandson, Inari, Tazuna introduced proudly. Inari, these are the ninjas helping protect us. Inari frowned. It doesn't matter. You're all going to fail anyway. He turned and ran off. An awkward silence followed. Wow. That was kind of harsh, Sasuke muttered. Sasuke. Dash. Meanwhile, the hunter nin reached a secluded clearing and gently set Zabuza down. This should be far enough, the masked figure murmured. As the ninja reached for Zabuza's mask, Zabuza stirred and stopped the hand. I've got it, Haku, he said, pulling out the senbone himself and sitting up. I really wish you'd let me help with that, Haku replied with concern. I'll manage. Just help me stand. Haku supported Zabuza carefully. You'll need about a week to recover fully. Zabuza clenched a fist. It doesn't matter how long it takes. Next time, we'll be ready for them. Dash. The next day, Team 7 stood in a clearing. Kakashi, supported by crutches, faced his students. All right team, starting today. We're learning how to climb trees, he said cheerfully. After a collective moment of disbelief, Sakura deadpanned, that's it? Tree climbing? Can you do it without using your hands? Kakashi asked, smiling. Sakura raised a hand. Sensei, Sasuke and I can already fly. Kakashi blinked. You can. Fly? Getting nods from both of them, he blinked again. I've seen lightning bolts and water dragons, but I draw the line at flying. Sakura smiled. Sasuke smirked. Both jumped and floated several feet in the air. Naruko looked up and chuckled. Show-offs. Kakashi's jaw dropped. He stood frozen for several seconds. Naruko walked up and poked him. Can you fly? He asked. Naruko shook her head. Nope. I prefer water techniques. Kakashi cleared his throat and regained his composure. Regardless, tree climbing improves chakra control. Everyone's doing it. He handed them each a kunai. Focus chakra into your feet. Not too much, not too little. Too little and you fall. Too much and... well, you'll see. Sakura went first and climbed halfway up, landing on a branch. Nice. Sasuke? Sasuke climbed, made decent progress, but cracked the bark and had to jump down. Not bad. Naruko, your turn. Naruko grinned and charged the tree. Boom. The tree exploded into splinters. Oops. How much chakra did you use? Kakashi asked. A lot? Try again. Over there. Boom. Kakashi sighed. It's going to be a long day. Dash. Boom. Oops. Boom. Oh no. Boom. This is getting frustrating. Boom. I just want to climb a tree. Kaboom. I give up. Dash. After a few days of practice, Naruko finally managed to control her chakra and climb properly. That evening, Team 7 was enjoying dinner at Tazuna's home. I hope Zabuza shows up again soon, Naruko said casually. Sakura raised an eyebrow. Why would you want that? So we can stop him for good and protect this place, Naruko answered confidently. Suddenly, Inari slammed his hands on the table. You act like nothing matters. You don't know what it's like to suffer. You've never had to lose someone important. Before anyone could speak, Naruko stood up, clearly upset. Without saying a word, she stormed out. Sasuke followed shortly after. Sakura gave Inari a disapproving glance before turning to Kakashi. I'll go talk to Naruko. You find Sasuke. Inari looked down in regret. His mother, Tsunami, quietly led him away. Kakashi left the house in silence, following Sasuke's trail. Dash. Kakashi soon found Sasuke practicing alone, sparks flying around him as he trained near scorched trees. Sasuke. I need some space, Sasuke said firmly, not turning around. Kakashi nodded and walked away, hoping Sakura was having better luck. Dash. Sakura followed the sound of crashing wood and found Naruko in a clearing, taking out her emotions on the forest. She approached carefully. Naruko? Naruko turned, eyes blazing with frustration. What is it? Sakura gently touched her cheek, and Naruko's expression softened. It's okay, Sakura said, pulling her into a hug. Naruko's voice cracked. Why do I always remember the hardest moments? Inari's just a child. Don't let his words get to you. Naruko took a deep breath, then returned the hug. Thanks. I'm glad you're here. Come back with me? I think I'll stay out here tonight to clear my head. Alright. Good night, Naruko. Good night, Sakura. Back at the house, Kakashi had just finished speaking to Inari. What did you tell him? Sakura asked. That Naruko and Sasuke have been through a lot, but they choose to keep going. It seemed to help. Sakura smiled softly. Naruko's okay now. She just needed to let it out. She's sleeping outside tonight. Sasuke? I'm fine, Sasuke said, entering the room. Then let's all rest, Kakashi said. The next morning, Naruko was sleeping peacefully in the clearing when she felt someone nearby. She quickly pinned them down, only to realize it was a soft-spoken young person. Sorry, Naruko said, helping them up. No problem, the stranger replied. I'm Haku. Nice to meet you. I'm Naruko. I'm gathering herbs for someone I care about. Would you like to help? Sure. As they worked, Haku asked, do you have someone precious to you? Yes, I do, Naruko said confidently. Then always protect them. That's when a person becomes truly strong. They finished their task, parting ways peacefully, Haku's words echoing in Naruko's mind. The next day, after wrapping up their training the night before, Team 7 gathered to escort Tazuna to the bridge, all except one member. Naruko. Wake up. Called Kakashi, knocking firmly on her door. Just leave her be, Kakashi-sensei. She'll catch up once she wakes up, said Sakura calmly. Kakashi sighed. Alright, let's move. As they approached the bridge, they noticed it was covered in a dense mist, and all of Tazuna's workers were unconscious. Tazuna rushed over to one of the still-breathing workers and gently shook him awake. Who did this? With a faint whisper, the man replied, demons. Before slipping back into unconsciousness. Well. Look who's finally arrived, Haku? Came Zabuza's familiar voice. He stood confidently, his appearance slightly altered with different arm warmers and a black sleeveless shirt. Team 7 tensed as Haku, the masked hunter Nin, stepped beside him. Zabuza scanned the group. Where's the blonde one? Doesn't matter, Sasuke replied coolly. We don't need her to handle you. Zabuza narrowed his eyes. Haku, handle the one with the attitude. Brothers, take on the girl. Hatake is mine. Kakashi revealed his Sharingan. This could be a challenge. Stay alert, everyone. In the next moment, both sides dashed into action, and the battle began. Elsewhere. Naruko awoke suddenly to loud shouting. She quickly leapt from bed and rushed downstairs to find Inari courageously facing two armed intruders with only a small kitchen knife. Tsunami, his mother, was tied up nearby. Stay back, Naruko shouted, landing between the intruders and Inari. With speed and precision, she disarmed and incapacitated both men with a swift, powerful technique. Inari. Tsunami. Are you okay? She asked while untying them. They were from Gato's crew, Tsunami said. They came to take me hostage, to stop the bridge. Were they the only ones? There are more outside, she answered, clearly worried. Naruko peeked through the window and counted at least 30 hired thugs. Find a safe hiding spot. I'll handle this, she said gently, stepping outside with determination. The thugs laughed at the sight of a young girl standing alone. Get out of here, kid, or... Before the thug could finish, Naruko had already taken action, swiftly disarming him with a well-aimed kunai. The others rushed toward her, but she remained focused. Using her training, agility, and chakra-enhanced strength, Naruko moved like a whirlwind, redirecting their momentum, disabling their weapons, and knocking them unconscious one by one with graceful precision. Within minutes, only a few remained, and seeing their numbers drop, they fled in panic. With the area now secure, Naruko returned to the house to inform Inari and Tsunami they were safe, then took off toward the bridge to join her teammates. Meanwhile, at the bridge, Sakura was engaged in combat with the demon brothers. They tried to strike from both sides, but she ducked gracefully, causing them to stumble into each other. She swept them off their feet and responded with chakra-based energy blasts that sent them flying. Recovering quickly, the brothers began forming hand signs. Two enormous water dragons emerged and surged toward Sakura. She leapt backward, avoiding the first, then redirected a focused energy beam to disperse them both. One brother used the cover to attack from above, but Sakura bent backward to dodge, then dropped low to avoid the other brother's strike. With perfect timing, she aimed upward and used a controlled energy blast to knock him out. When the remaining brother attacked in rage, she redirected his attack using his momentum, sending him crashing into the ground unconscious as well. Breathing steadily, she rushed back to Tazuna, standing protectively in front of him. Elsewhere on the battlefield, Sasuke faced off against Haku, and it was clear the tide was turning. Haku's senbone weren't piercing Sasuke's defense. Desperate, Haku formed his crystal ice mirrors technique and created a shimmering dome, launching towards Sasuke with a blade of ice. But Sasuke didn't dodge. Instead, he charged straight at Haku, his hand glowing with lightning. Their attacks collided, and Haku was sent flying backward. I can't win, Haku thought, retreating into the mirrors as they began to fracture. I'll find you, Sasuke muttered, calmly walking into the mist. Meanwhile, Kakashi and Zabuza. Kakashi and Zabuza were evenly matched, clashing kunai and sword. The mist gave Zabuza an advantage, turning their battle into a test of strategy and awareness. I have an idea, Kakashi thought. Let's settle this with one final move. I'm listening, Zabuza said from within the fog. Kakashi swiped a scroll with a trace of chakra and activated a summoning technique. Fang Pursuit Jutsu. Several large dogs leapt from the ground and latched onto Zabuza, dispersing the mist. Now, for my original technique, Kakashi said, gathering lightning in his palm. Lightning Blade. As he dashed forward, Haku suddenly appeared between them and took the hit, falling in the process. Zabuza tried to continue the fight but Kakashi countered and disabled his arms with swift kunai strikes. Just then, Naruko arrived with the rest of the team. Give up, Zabuza. It's over, Kakashi said. A new voice cut through the moment. Gato had arrived with a large group of hired fighters. Looks like the mighty swordsman turned out to be all talk, he mocked. Zabuza looked toward Kakashi. Mind handing me a kunai? Kakashi nodded and tossed it to him. Zabuza caught it and dashed forward with determination in his eyes, parting the crowd of thugs with graceful precision until he reached Gato. The remaining fighters, stunned, turned and ran. Zabuza, breathing heavily, fell to the ground. Kakashi approached quietly and covered his eye in silence. Inari and the villagers arrived shortly after. Is Gato gone? Inari asked Naruko softly. She nodded. Yes. He won't be bothering anyone anymore. The villagers erupted in cheers, their spirits finally lifted. Even Sasuke allowed a small smile to cross his face. The battle was over. The land of waves was free. A month later. With Gato gone, the bridge was finished in record time. When the day came for Team 7 to leave, Inari asked his grandfather, "What will we name the bridge?" Kazuna thought for a moment, then declared, "Let's call it the Bridge of the Four Heroes," earning cheers from the villagers. As Team 7 walked into the distance, Kakashi suddenly stopped. I think we're far enough, he said, pulling out 2 kunai and stepping into a defensive stance. Now then. Just who, or what, are you 3? Dear YouTube family. That's all for today's video, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more awesome content. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep walking the path. Thank you for your support. Much love. 6 Path Weeb.